Okay, all right. So this morning's hangout, we're going to be chatting about customer service. Joined with Keith again from the US. Don't know us, Greg Hammond, founder of Builders, Profits and Trades Coaching, and I'm with the senior coach from US, Pennsylvania, I think it is. Pennsylvania. Somewhere over in the States here. Joined with Keith. Hey Keith, just want to say a quick hello.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Good. No, I'm good. So yeah.
You're good. You're good. Okay. Hey, if you're good, I'm good. We're all good. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about. I guess the plan today is we'll go over customer service, and obviously, it's on the surface kind of an easy topic. People know that you need to have good customer service, but obviously we're going to get a little bit deeper into it today than that. And Greg's got some tips and experiences here. We're gonna try and suck out of him and have some things to take away that are practical and useful to you here in your own business. So.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to really start off with basically have a quick chat about what customer service is. Why I suppose working with trades and having my own businesses over the years, it's one of those things that people tend to forget that. Without customers, you don't have a business. So you've got to really provide the customers. And I suppose part of that is understanding their buyer's journey. And we talk about the buyer's journey a lot in our marketing processes and stuff. But really understanding what the buyer's journey is. And with customer service, what really kicked me this topic was I was talking to a client of mine a few weeks ago, and he was telling me about since he started looking at the business coaching and the business development side of things, and that he was so surprised about the lack of customer service there is out there. So things like he had there was 20 people. He was telling me the story about he's had 20 of them. They were going out for a function one night, so they rang the restaurant and they got this really ordinary recorded message. He said it was pretty shocking. But he didn't hear back from him, and he rang about 4 different restaurants before he actually got one that they were friendly. They actually started to talk to him, and basically things like that. Now the first one that he rang him back 3 days later for a function that was on. I think it was that night or the next night. It was the function was over and done with and gone, but they were so rude about it as well. So, and you kind of think he turned around and said to me, he said over the years. People used to thank him for things, and he used to think it was just thanking him for being a good tradesman. But in the end, he actually started asking some people this last month, and he said, it's funny you turned up, and you returned our phone call and things like that. So just the little things, the critical non-essentials that are the basis of business. And this guy's creaming it with the work in that because he's doing something a little bit different to a lot of others. Now. I know a lot of people say, you get too busy and they forget the phone calls and that sort of stuff. It's really about having systems and processes in place to be able to, provide great customer service. Because again, on the face of it, they're just a customer, but that customer can turn into a raving fan, and it depends on where they are in the buyer's journey. Depends on how much attention you've got to give them, but you've got to give them at least some attention. And return phone calls, and if they're not the right target market, at least be honest and upfront and tell them about it. It's really about communication, and the communication that you want to have if you're dealing with somebody. What do you want? Do you want to get the return phone calls? Do you want them to turn up? And I hear this so often. People turn around and say, look, they never return my calls, and you think, okay, well, do you ever return your calls? And there's an old saying that when I was back years ago, life's a mirror. You get what you get. Communication's a response you deserve, is what I was told years ago. And in a lot of ways, that's true. If you aggro, you get aggro back. If you don't return phone calls, and I'm a stickler for trying to. I'll do my best to return every phone call just to make sure that if anybody rings or somebody makes contact, I'll make sure if I can't get to them right there and then, I'll touch base with them either through an email or a text or something along those lines. So.
Mm-hmm. I think that's true. Anybody who's had a business for any length of time gets to those situations where you might have one customer who's not the ideal, maybe you can even help them, but you take a little bit of time, point them in the right direction, and the next thing you know, you're getting leads from them. I had one of my businesses, I had one customer that I did a small job for, and I ended up with, I think, 6 or 7 different family members and jobs, and it turned into tons of leads. At least I have half a dozen leads just from one small job.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It doesn't take a lot. It just, one potential lead can turn into thousands of things. But the thing is that, and I see this a lot more so in builders and trades and that sort of stuff. Trades in general. Like they get kind of tired and what would you call it? Jaded, maybe. Over the years they think, all the customer's going to do is abuse me or something like that. But at the end of the day, you get the bad customers. And I used to have this saying, there's only one. I might say it on the air. Only one bad person, but he just gets around a lot. Like, at the end of the day, you've just got to be able to brush it off and say, yeah, that happens. But if it's your mistake, do what you can to fix it. Make sure that you bend over backwards, fix the problem before it becomes something that's going to blow up in your face. But it's a great book called it's a time management book, but Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, and it's really about if you've got a difficult client, handle it. Get it fixed and turn them into a raving fan if you possibly can. You got to do that sort of stuff to get through. And I mean, sometimes if you've got things that keep blowing up on your face, actually a perfect example of this, customer service. One of my clients from years and years ago, he's still a client actually, and he owns a TV repair business. Right. When we first met, he was getting 35 complaints a week. Right. And I said to him, I said, what's the problem? What's generally the problem? He said, well, they've got unrealistic time frames. They come in and they want it back straight away, and those demands a new television and stuff like that, and we can't do that. And I said, well, just run me through the typical what happens when they come in. And it was kind of, it's two heads buttoned together all the time. They're going off, so he's going off instead of, you take control of the situation and say, yeah, look, I understand your problem, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and then just bring the conversation down and then try and take control of it. We are here to help you work, all that sort of stuff. He cut his customer complaints from 35 a week down to he's probably less than a dozen, well, easy less than a dozen a month now, sort of thing. He might get 5 or 6 because people want their televisions back that day and they don't expect them to go wrong, but they don't understand that the warranty agent is only the warranty agent. He's not the manufacturer, so he can't do anything outside the manufacturer's things. But he still addresses it as best he can, but he's trained his team, about how to provide a better customer service. Smile, greet with them, and the old saying, customer's always right. Well, you've got to think that. You just got to, whether you believe it or not, at the end of the day, the thing is the customer is your customer. Customer is your lifeblood. If you give good customer service, and the example I think I did in the last Hangout was we took our business from $200,000 to $1 million in 12 months because we were able to give great customer service. We bought a one-man business. He was that flat out. He couldn't give customer service. When my wife stepped in, it was like my wife and I bought the business. She looked after it on the front end. I was the mechanic in the back. And she was providing the customer service, and part of that customer service was we do pick-up and deliveries and all that sort of stuff. And, like I said, it just took that business from $200,000 to $1 million in less than 12 months through simple things like that. Mm-hmm. Just mainly understanding what the buyer's journey is and understanding, customer focus, because the key to your business are, well, two keys to business is marketing and sales, but at the end of the day, that marketing and sales brings customers in, and part of your sales journey is customer service.
Right. And is it fair to say, do you think, in general, that sometimes some of the most difficult customers can become your most raving fans?
You can, yeah. You can actually turn them around. Once they understand that, let's say it's a service-based, well, actually, let's go back to builders. If you've got a difficult customer, and some of them can be really painful, wanting to change things and stuff like that all the way through it, but if you can actually manage that properly, and communicate properly. I mean, I've just done a workshop with a lady from Builder Trend, and it's got it's got a great program that keeps the customer up to date, keeps the trades up to date. Everybody's communicated with, because as I said before, communication is the key. So if you've got a good communication system, and this is where part of the things to make it easier for yourself so that you're not doing it all yourself, if you can put together a system and something like Build a Trend, or even if it's just a flow-charted system that you've got for yourself, so you might return your calls, you get control of time management. I think one of our future Hangouts is about time management, but getting control of that stuff, being able to communicate with your customer, keep them informed, and then that becomes a real point of difference to the customer, because in a lot of cases, that customer might have had an experience with another builder beforehand where there's been no communication, and they've asked for something like this, and they've ended up with something like instead of a square house, they've ended up with a round house or something like that, because they haven't really communicated properly. Or the old builders stitching them up with variations instead of communicating with them and understanding that if there's a variation, there's a variation. It's not a case of stitching up the variation, but sometimes they just leave that to the end and go, well, you wanted this done and that, and then bang, all of a sudden we've got a big blow up in our hands about you've done all this stuff, and the builder goes, well, yeah, well, I'll throw this in, or they end up losing money and stuff like that. And it's funny, I was actually on a call the other day, I was listening to somebody else, this was another coach actually, but I was on a call the other day, and he's saying, mate, where you make your profits from variations. I'm going, no, that's not where you make your profit. You're doing something wrong if you're making your profit from variations, because all that's going to do is stitch somebody up and hurt somebody. It hurts you. And in the workshop I did the other night, I'd say 80 to 90% of the room said they rely on referrals, right? So if they rely on referrals, you can't have bad customer service.
Right. And I know just for myself, too, my experience has been that a lot of those more difficult clients, some of your most difficult customers know that they're difficult.
Yeah.
But, at the end of it all, they turn around, there's some degree of admission that, man, I ran you through the ringer, and I'm really appreciative of the job you've done. So, there's that temptation to throw your hands up and say, man, it's just not. But a lot of times they make it very worthwhile because they recognize that you jump through their hoops and you're service oriented. So,
yeah, exactly right. Well, another point in the case is that there's different people, different personalities. I mean, we use that thing with team and all that sort of stuff about this profiling, but funny, my wife's going through a process at the moment over a mobile phone, and she's been so patient with it. This mobile phone's been a problem for her she bought it in October last year. We're in August this year, right? So it hasn't worked since then. And she bought it outright, and this company she bought it from was on the internet. And so there's this whole thing where she's been patient, she sent it back, and now it's gone ballistic. And I'm going, it's a $700 phone. Can you just go and buy a new phone? You're wasting so much time on this bloody phone. And she's like, it's the point, and that's the thing. Now it's become a problem where it's now going to the ACCC, it's going to fair trading, and so because we've got our new ACL out here. I don't know if you know about that, but the new ACL supposedly allows you to be able to, if it's up to $50,000, you can go back and get a replacement, but it's not quite that simple, right? And as she's finding out, and so she's actually doing the exercise for me to explain to my client that he's got nothing to worry about with his TV stuff. But it's just, I'm looking at it going, here's my wife all tied up and frustrated about this thing just to get a point across, and that's because of the lack of communication from the other end. It's been, they don't communicate, they send email once every now and then if you're lucky. The phone's been back 4 times, so in that whole, so it's nearly 12 months now. In that whole 12 months, she's probably had the phone 6, maybe 8 weeks, and so she's going through this whole thing. Now from the other end of it, I'm looking at it from, if I was the people on the other end, now she looks like a difficult customer. But if they'd fixed the problem 12 months or 10 months ago, it wouldn't have been a problem. Yeah. But it's that customer service thing. They've forgotten about it, and now she started out with all great intentions and being pretty casual about it. But now it's a point. I've got to prove a point. So that's why if you get on. So my point with this conversation is to get onto it early. If you get onto it early and you solve the problem, you become the superstar. You become the fix-it guy or gal instead of being the one that's going to. It's strung it out, and that's how you can turn a difficult customer into a raving fan. It's like, hey, we had this problem, he fixed it, right? And, you know, okay, there was a variation, we had to pay more because it was a change or something like that. They don't mind if you communicate, you tell them, just get the paperwork signed up and all that sort of stuff in the meantime.
Right. It's one of the ideas. A big crisis can become a great opportunity.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, and it comes around, you know, like if you leave a problem for too long, it'll come back and bite you on the backside.
Right.
Yeah. So you're better off, you know, you're really better off jumping onto these things and getting them sorted and solved straight away before they blow up in your face.
Right. Which kind of goes back to some of our earlier conversations we've had in our Hangouts about testimonials and being proactive with your online reputation.
Yep.
Making sure that, you know, any kind of negative press that you might get, any kind of negative information that might be out there about you is covered over by all the great things people are saying otherwise.
Yeah, that's it. And yeah, so it's really about being focused. You know, how do you do it? And that's probably the biggest challenge. If you're a one-man show, how do you do customer service? And we're going to talk about time management later on. But and if you're a single builder or project builder type thing, and you've got subbies and that underneath you, it really comes down to having good communication channels between yourself and the clients, and yourself and your subs, right? And going that extra mile. And I mean, I know a lot of the guys are out there swinging the hammer, and they're tired, and that's what I say. Sometimes they get tired and they get grumpy, and you know, all of a sudden something small becomes something big. So you know, you really got to work out a process to do that. And now, these are like some time management tips and that, but really coming down to having a process about it. You know, work out what you've got to get done in the day, setting times aside to be able to do certain things in the day. So we're using like a default diary style thing. So you follow up. You know, if you get a phone call, make sure you follow up at a certain time of the day, and make sure you write down their phone numbers, or you know, if you know you've got to do something, that eat that frog thing I was talking about before. You know, if you've got something there that's a big frog that you've got to eat, and the book's really what it says is, you know, you eat the horrible thing first. So get the horrible thing out the road and get it sorted out first. Yeah. So
cool.
Isn't that cool?
So
yeah.
just I guess maybe some people are thinking, well, I know customer service, I understand the concept of doing the less than desirable things, getting them out of the way. I guess the other logical question then would be, what kind of results can you expect? What's the natural outcome of that? Once, if it looks like, let's just say it's great, perfect picture of customer service.
Okay, yeah.
What kind of results can somebody expect?
Yeah, okay, so customer service goes not just from communication, it can be the whole journey, like I was saying before. So some of the things that we recommend with clients, and sometimes we even forget about some of these things, and it comes back to, I think I was telling you the other day, I received something from a course I signed up to a month or so ago, and okay, the course hasn't started yet, but what they did, they sent me a card. They still right here on my desk. Sent me a card and a box of playing cards. Or they're not playing cards, but inspirational cards and stuff like that. But that was a critical non-essential that I didn't expect. And I'm sitting there going, wow, I forget about these things. I used to do those things all the time, and then they've fallen out of the system over the years, and then it's like, okay, we've got to get back into doing critical non-essentials. So it's about doing little wow things along the way. So customer service is not just communication. And let's say you're a builder and you're going through the process, and so let's say you've got a referral. You give a little wow to the person that referred it to you. You might send them a bottle of wine or a car. I mean, if this is a $200,000 or $300,000 job, you might be a little bit more generous. But you send them movie tickets or send them something and say thank you very much for your referral. It's something that they didn't expect. Mm-hmm. Then that's a part of a wow, and they're going to refer more people. Then on the customer side of it, when you sign a contract or something like that, I'll give you an example. Real estate agents are a perfect example. You get a real estate agent and you sell a house, right? So they've just sold the house for you, but they give the buyer the welcome gift, right? they give nothing to the person that sold the house. Now, there's two opportunities. Now, okay, the person might sell the house and go to another state or something like that, or they might be, in my case, I was just selling one house to move to another house in a different suburb, just like next suburb sort of thing. You know, it's just a critical non-essential. They go well to the client that purchased, but the person that gave them the goods in the first place didn't do it. So a good example of this is one of my clients was a drywall guy. You guys call them drywall, we call them gyprockers over here. He's a drywall guy, you know, and I said to him, I said, look, you know, we need to start and work out how you can get some bigger and better jobs, because he's doing a lot of little mums and dads jobs and little tiny fiddly things and wasn't really making good money on it. And so I said to him, what about your supplier? You know, what happens with the guys that supply the gyprock? And he said, oh yeah, just guys. I said, okay, why don't you just take a carton of beer down to them one Friday afternoon and sit down with them and have a beer and say, hey guys, thanks for all the stuff you've done for us in the past, and hey, look, and just casually dropped, if you've got any work in that, just let me know about it. And you know, I'd love to go out and do some quoting on it. And it wasn't staged properly like that. It was just, that's what I suggested to him, go down and have a beer. And he didn't go like that. He went down and had a beer with them. Just said, hey guys, I sort of catch up with you. Thanks for that thing. It wasn't Christmas. It wasn't New Year's. It wasn't any occasion. It was just a Friday afternoon. Went down, sat down with three of the guys. They had a beer, and then like he left the case there and told them if there's anything. So the next week, it wasn't even long. The next week he got a phone call, said, hey, look, there's some guys down in Geroa here. They've got 16 units they want to get built. They're looking for somebody to do their drywall. He went down there, he got it. And I said to him, then he's rung me up and said, mate, you know, I've got this client, this job. And I said, okay, right, first thing you do is now there's how many of them in the office? He said, well, there's 7 in the office. Go buy every one of them a carton of beer. Or buy them something, give them a gift certificate, give them something, right? You've got a job there that's got some decent profit in it. Go back and just remember the referrers. And since then, you know, so it's not just the customer service, it can be your suppliers that can be part of it as well. So the journey, the customer service is not just for your clients, but it can also be your suppliers and all that sort of stuff. So this was just a critical non-essential sent to these guys. They got the job. The builder that he got the job with, he just turned around and said he sent them off. I'm trying to think. I'm not 100% sure what he did, but I know he did something like a movie too or something like that. Thanks for the. So once he signed the contract and got the contract underway, got the job at the end. The job he also gave him critical non-essential. So another thing back to the builder saying thanks for the job, looking forward to doing some more work with you. And so now he's built the relationship with the builder, and so he's got continued work from that. And since then, the business he's just using basically a couple of critical non-essentials. He's not doing very much marketing at all, but using customer service. So he's focused on the builder, but he's also focused on his suppliers, which has been a massive hit.
All through the investment of a couple of beers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's probably cost him. Well, beers aren't quite as cheap as they used to be when I was. Anyway, we won't go back to that days. But yeah, there's not quite as cheap as that. But you know, a couple $100 in beers, and he's got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of work.
Right.
So it's just having that, remembering that people are people and people love to be treated the way that you like to be treated.
Mm-hmm.
Is if you're an angry type person, and some people don't know they're angry, right? And that's what I say, personalities. Some people don't know they're angry people, but if you just look at it and say, look, you know, watch your tongue, because your tongue bites harder than a lot of other things. So just watch your tongue when you're there, and be nice to people, treat people how you'd like to be treated, and they'll come back. They'll become raving fans, because the biggest part of your business is having good raving fans, good referrals. I'd rather spend money on a referral and just spend a little bit of money on critical non-essentials, following up, making sure you do those sort of things, and get it covered, and get them coming back, rather than having to go out and market all the time. It costs you 6 times as much to get a new client as it does to keep current clients. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
And you really want them to be raving fans.
Absolutely. That's the cheapest kind of advertising for you.
So I suppose to take on your question before about, you know, what will I say about the thing, I got kind of sidetracked with the critical non-essentials, but it really is about every contact should be a good contact with your client, and then remember to contact them. It's really it's not much chop if you actually you ring somebody and they don't return the phone calls, or you ring somebody and they say they're going to be there at such and such a time. If you're going to be late, pick up the phone and ring them and say, hey, look, I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I'm running a few minutes behind schedule. It's always good to say schedule rather than I'm running late, because running late, it's like you can't coordinate things. But if you say you're behind schedule, at least you sound like, oh, okay, he's got a schedule, so he's working with us. It's just a different way of spinning it, But it's, at the end of the day, you're late's late. But if you've got a schedule, people tend to respect the schedule and than an organised guy. So you sound more organised. But again, it's just a phone call. It's with the way phones are now. It's not like it was years ago where it cost you an arm and a leg for a phone call. Now you've got all these plans. It doesn't cost much for a phone call, and it makes the person feel like, well, great. They might still be a little bit upset, but at least you rung them. And most trades don't. I had an electrician come round to do some work at my place, and they said they'd be there between 8 a.m. and 12 p.m. Right, is the thing. So we knew our morning was going to be screwed up. We knew that was done. But that's what a lot of them do. He turned up at 4:30. We had no phone call. We had nothing at all. He turned up at 4:30. So the whole day was stuffed. And we're ringing and going, where is this guy? Oh no, he's on his way. He's on his way. He's on his way. It's like, it's nothing. And so we get frustrated, and all that does is make the customer angry. We're just sitting there thinking, yep, what now?
Yeah.
Cool. So, all right, so we've got a couple of people on now. If there's any questions, happy to answer any questions. If you've got any questions, you should have a question box on the side if you've got any questions there. But it's. Have you got anything else you'd like to add to the customer service side of things, Peter? Do you think we've covered
I think you kind of touched on it a little bit there earlier towards the end of your last comment. The idea of always do what you say you will do. If you say you're going to call them back, make sure you call them back. If the ball's in your court, or if there's any question as to where that last point of contact needs to come from, it definitely needs to be you doing the follow-up. You need to lead the communication. And I think sometimes, we talk to a lot of clients who are just, I think one of the themes is overwhelmed. You get into a job that things didn't go as planned. You're pouring a slab, you got a big day, getting the slab poured or something like that, and meanwhile the calls are coming in. Some of those things that are a great long-term benefit get neglected. And then you turn around and, we talk about that roller coaster of sales. They're all coming in, and then all of a sudden they're not there. Well, that's part of the reason sometimes they're not there is because that follow-up. You need to be consistently following up, much like you were saying, put the system in place to make sure that that's part of your schedule. No matter what else happens, no matter what's going on during the day, there's that time there to make sure it gets done.
Yeah. It's really about having, so we'll be touching, I think, I'm not sure if it's next Hangout or the Hangout after, we'll be touching on time management, but it really is having control of the time. Everybody's got the same 24 hours, and if you're getting phone calls, if you're getting those sort of things, that's where, message banks, people tend to do that whole text messaging thing, you've got a 10-second call. I don't know if you guys have it over there, but we get it a lot here where you ring a mobile or you ring a phone and it says, your voice with text will convert your voice into a text message, or you've got this 10-second message. That works, that's great, but it's really at the end of the day, you leave a message, you get a good script on your phone, leave a message. Your call is important to us. We're currently tied up with another client at the moment, something along those lines. You build a nice message there, capture that message, and then you set up a default time where you return all the calls. And so it comes down to that time management stuff as well. But having that having the process where you do follow them up, or if you know you're running late behind the job, and some others will say, well, you're on the job and you're running late anyway, and you can't stop that job to go and make phone calls because you're running late. But at the end of the day, you're on one job, it's blown out. You just say, look, I've got another appointment. I need to just contact these people. Take 5 seconds. It makes, hello, got a problem. I'm behind schedule. I'll talk to you soon. Bang, done. But again, I mean, we've got this thing on television at the moment. It's called the Block Glass House, and it's amazing. Just watching how some of these guys treat other people. You know, there's a concrete cutter at the moment. It's amusing because the concrete cutter says, "I'm going to be an hour and a half," right? And he'll be out of your way. 60 hours later, they're still cutting the concrete, and he just doesn't care about anybody else. He's just, mate, piss off. You know, these guys have got to do. It's about a room reveal and all that sort of stuff. So they've got to do a room reveal the next day. They've got all this work to do, and this concrete cutter's in the road, and he's just telling them to rack off. And he's like, mate, you can see why the industry as a whole has a bad name. It's like they just don't care about other people, and the more you care, I suppose this is another way of saying it. I've just thought of it, but the more you care, the more people share. You know, if you start caring about other people, and they'll start sharing the love around with you as well. So is
that's what we're going to whittle this hangout down to? Sharing is caring. Is that?
Caring is sharing.
Yeah, it all goes back to kindergarten, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, what do your parents tell you? Yeah, good on you. But no, that's the thing. It's really about stop being the grumpy old crap, and for whatever terminology, but stop being grumpy. Treat customers how you'd like to be treated, and you know, it's not about investing a little bit of time and money and effort into your customers is going to pay dividends at the end of the day. They should give you referrals. I had a client. I was actually, again, coming back to the workshop. We stuck around. We had to talk to. We had about 40 odd people in the room the other day. When we started this, there was Paul from QuoteFast, Trudy from Builder Trend, and myself. We were talking about sales, estimating, and project management tools. And right at the end, one of the guys came up and said to me, he said, they were based in Newcastle, and they were doing work all over the state, and I mean all over. And it wasn't just they're not big builders, family builders, but they were doing stuff down in Jindabyne, which is like probably 5-7 hour drive away, right? But they were saying customers were getting them to do their holiday homes in these places, like even down the south coast, you know, because they've got such a great relationship with them. And they've said, you know, this guy's been in business for over 40 years, and his son's taken over the business. The father's bought the Jeep and the caravan ready to go do the grey nomad thing, and the son's taking over the business. But the father said, you know, we've got people that have built 4 and 5 times with them, right? Yeah. Because they follow up, because they've got great customer service. Now, that's a testament of great customer service. If you've got like generationals, people that are buying homes, and then, you know, they stick around for their 6 or 7 years as the average of the turnover of a home is here. You know, they go to a new home, they get these people in because they had such a great experience with that builder.
Right. That in and of itself becomes a point of difference.
Sorry?
I said that in and of itself becomes a point of difference.
Yeah,
use the same builder.
Same builder, yeah. Exactly right. So that's where, you know, they didn't do anything special for their customer service. I was talking to them about what they were doing, and it was things like returning phone calls, finishing on time, making sure everybody was happy. You know, they have a checklist for cleaning, making sure the site's cleaned up and everything's done, and all the basic stuff that every builder should be doing. They're just doing it. And you know, if there's a problem, communicating with the client. Now, they never had any of the fancy systems or anything like that we've got today. He just did it the way it was. They just did it the old way, you know, pick up the phone, made a phone call, got the paper, you know, wrote it down on paper, did all that stuff. So it was quite interesting talking to these guys about it.
Right. I think too, a lot of builders, and you know, there's builders listening right now. I know we have a few people on, but I think it's safe to say most business owners know what they should do, but for whatever reason, the excuses come and it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's not so much. I think sometimes it's not so much a question of not knowing customer service, but going back to having that time built into your schedule to make it happen. So.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, and again, doing the importance of, you know, sales and marketing and customer service. Customer service, in my opinion, is part of your sales and marketing machine. and really where the focus is the focus. Where's your time best spent? And that's another, like I said, time management and stuff that we'll talk about. People on the webinars, when we do the monthly webinars, the Expert Builder, we're doing another Expert Builder webinar coming up soon, but there's also the Business Accelerator Builders. I think what our other webinar is called, but anyway, the Accelerator webinar. We talk about, you know, what's your time worth. You know, is it better swinging a hammer, or are you better off sales, marketing, and doing the stuff that people seem to enjoy? But I tell you what, when people get into that, when they really take that flip from swinging the hammer to being sales, marketing, and talking to people, a lot of guys love the customer interaction. Right. It's just they don't like them when they become clients and become pains in the backside clients. So. Cool. Right. All right. So it doesn't look like we've got any extra questions come up. But if anybody does have any questions, quite happy for you to flick us an email, or if you want to have a chat, go to thebuildersprofits.com/chat. Book yourself in for a chat. We're going to have a quick 15-minute chat about anything to do with your business. If you've got any areas you want to work on in your customer service, or if you want to have a bit of a general chat about your sales, marketing, or business development stuff, give us a yell. We'll have a quick chat. So, any last words or final words at all, Keith?
No, I think we pretty well covered it today. Again, it's just going back to systems, going back to that default diary, and understanding the value of what you're doing and not doing.
Yeah. Well, value of what you're doing and not doing, and the value of your customers. Customer service. Customers are the lifeblood of your business. If you don't have customers, you don't have business. So, so they market it, get them in, and once you've got to get them in, you've got to nurture them and look after them. And remember, it's part of the buyer's journey. So we'll be going through that as well on one of our other Hangouts. All right, great. No worries. Well, we'll call it a wrap, and we'll catch up on the next Hangout.
All right, sounds good. Thanks later, Greg. See you.
Bye.